Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to Bayou Bets for Monday, February the 6th. Zach Ewing, along with Spencer the Guru, and Jim Derry, who literally dropped into the studio as we were playing the intro. Impeccable timing, as always, Jim.
I've got it down pat, my friends. I know when we got to go, and we're trying to get this poll question up, and I had a little issue. So,
all right. Well, since you're usually early, we'll give you a pass. We're talking Super Bowl today. We're 6 days away from the big game. Pretty much all we'll be talking about this week. There's a few other things. There happens to be, in fact, for Louisiana sports fans, a very big women's basketball game next Sunday. That is, the Super Bowl is not the only thing next Sunday. You have number 1 South Carolina against number 3 LSU. I'm still not quite sure how they didn't become number 2, considering they were number 3 last week. They won twice. Number 2 Stanford lost. I don't know how that happened, but they're number 3. Okay. So they play South Carolina.
Very unimpressive victories.
That's true. They were 22-point favorites yesterday and won by 6, and I think the other win was similar, barely beating. I can't remember who they played in that home game. Georgia in the earlier game. Jerry's here. Welcome to Jerry. We'll also talk a little bit of Pelicans. They finally got off the schneid, and then kind of a bonus, got the second win yesterday against the Sacramento Kings. So, but mostly we will be talking Super Bowl. And our good friend Devin Jackson's back on the show. He's going to be with us in 10, 15 minutes here.
Razzmatazz.
He is now the sports betting director for the Philadelphia Inquirer. And so he has been following the Eagles all season long, of course, and will give us the lowdown on the Super Bowl favorites, which I'm still a little surprised they're the favorites, guys, but we'll talk about that. First off, we are brought to you by Caesar Sportsbook. We have an LSU 3-poster set giveaway at LSUposter.com. Bet a minimum of $10 and get yourself 3 free LSU championship posters or Joe Burrow Heisman posters, whatever you want to choose. Check out the details on LSUposter.com. It's for new Caesars users. All you need is a $10 bet and to register. Jerry, how was our weekend? It was slow. This is low-key one of the worst sports weekends of the year, I feel like. There's just nothing going on.
Yeah, Mardi Gras kicking into gear. We had our big Endymion float day and had some games to go to and work and some parties to go to this weekend. It was fun.
Yeah, just wait for next year. Mardi Gras early, right? It's same week as the Super Bowl.
It is the Tuesday after the Super Bowl. So Bacchus Sunday / Toast Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday, which.
Well, that's why the Super Bowl originally was going to be in New Orleans next year, and then when they moved the schedule back a week, they realized that we can't do that. So now Super Bowl will be here in February of 2025.
Well, I don't get it because they have the Waste Management Open is in the Phoenix area at the same time as the Super Bowl. That's craziness.
Yeah. That's different, though. That'd be like
you're comparing the Waste Management Open to Mardi Gras.
Yeah, man, it's a party on that 17th hole.
I mean, it is the Mardi Gras of golf tournaments, but that one's in Scottsdale, one's in Glen. That'd be like if the Saints played in Metairie, maybe you could get away with it. You know what I mean? Like it's two different parts of town.
I guess. I mean,
you're talking about the
play in Metairie.
The same, yeah, but they don't play they're not going to play the Super Bowl there.
No, they play their best football in Metairie.
Wow. By the way, before we dig into the Super Bowl, couple of pieces of Saints news. Joe Woods is the new defensive coordinator, which Dennis Allen is still going to be the lead defensive coach. Right. So we'll see how that works out. Comes over from the Cleveland Browns. And then Zach Strief has followed Sean Payton to Denver to be his offensive line coach. So,
traitor.
I can't. I don't think you can say it's not a loss. How big of a loss, I don't know. A lot of people spoke very highly of Zach Strief, and then Joe Woods coming in. Jim, do you see either one of these as being an impact move?
No. In short, I mean, what else can you say? I mean, Joe Woods is basically going to become the Pete Carmichael to Sean Payton, right? I mean, Dennis Allen is still in charge of that defense. So, I mean, I don't see. Look, I like Joe Woods. I think he's done a fine job, and I think he'll be a nice assistant coach. But I mean, when it comes down to it, it's all about what Dennis Allen does on defense.
Yeah, and the Saints. I mean, I think we've been saying it all along. There's really nothing you can do to change your outlook on next year until you know what the Saints are going to do at quarterback. That is the domino that has to fall, Spence, before we can really diagnose anything else.
Yeah, for sure. As far as Zach Strief, I think that's a more significant loss than people realize, because I think that's going to kind of lead to the exodus of people wanting to follow Sean Payton to Denver. And I know he's just an assistant O-line coach, but I mean, I think that's kind of the beginning. You know, I don't know who's going to go first, but I guarantee you at least 2 or 3 Saints are going to end up, so probably 2 free agents and at least 1 via trade are going to end up in Denver. That's just the reality, I feel like, because Sean Payton has that draw. He draws people to him, and I feel like it's going to hurt the Saints to some degree.
They're going to open the transfer portal?
It's pretty much, I mean, free agency. I mean, the Saints have a lot of unrestricted free agents, especially on defense. And then Payton's going to go after Taysom Hill and possibly Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, he can have Kamara.
Well, we got a certain receiver he can have too with a big contract if he'd like to take that on.
And a big toe.
I don't know if he's going to even want that one.
Terry's question, I think you're just saying it was float day. You were building the
right.
float.
It was the float viewing day. That's basically for members, and you have a big party at the Den, and kids can go and they get their faces painted and get balloons that pop and they cry about when they pop, and stuff like that. The clowns make the little dog balloons that pop.
Were there
right
tears?
Were
there tears on float day?
Oh, I mean, the 7-year-old, there are tears every day.
That's how my 7-year-old is. So.
At least every other half hour.
Yeah. You mean I got to take a bath?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you mean I can't ride my unicorn scooter in the living room?
Right. Yeah. If I cry, maybe I'll get my way. And then you can't do see, Spencer, that's the thing. You can't give into that, because then they'll start to think that's how it works. Is if I cry, I can, get my way. I did cry to Devin Jackson, and he said he would come on the show. I didn't even have to cry. I'll be honest. He's excited to come back. So he'll be on.
Protege. Maybe your first ever protege. That's scary.
Good old Devin.
Job in Philly, basically.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. I might be too old for it to be my first protege, but I have to think about that. Eagles remain a 1.5 point favorite over the Chiefs, -125 on the money line. Guys, we did see just a little bit of movement on the over-under over the weekend. It's up over 50 now at 50.5 most places.
47.5 last week.
Yeah, and it was up to, by the end of the week, it was like 49, and now we've gotten above 50. So people expecting a high-scoring game here.
Keep chugging it up, Mabel. Keep chugging it up, baby. I can't wait until Sunday when it's 52 and I get Bargain City. Keep chugging that thing up.
Yeah, I know Mabel likes overs, so
Mabel does not bet unders.
Nope.
On anything.
Call me Mabel this week, then. I think I'm on the over. That's the only thing I'm sure of. I still haven't decided which side I'm taking.
I don't think it's going over. I think it's going. Not only do I think it's going under, I actually think it's going well under.
But here's the thing:
the low 40s.
The interesting thing about that is, if this game is like the games the Eagles and Chiefs have played, then it probably will go under. As far as they've gotten out to some leads, they've been able to lean on the running game, take some time off the clock, that sort of thing. Neither one of these teams has been in one of those back and forth, you score, I score, who's got the ball last type game.
Kansas City was last week.
Or anything close to, not really though. Obviously it was, but it wasn't one of those things where they were scoring back and forth. It was just 3 points scored in the entire fourth quarter, I think.
I know, but it was a back and forth kind of game. Anybody could have won in the final minute. Shocking that it didn't go into overtime kind of game.
And so I'm a little surprised, I don't think the Chiefs have seen an offense quite like Philly. I know Philly hasn't seen an offense quite like Kansas City. That's what has me leaning over.
I guess I'm going to give a spoiler alert here. I think this is going to be a boring Super Bowl. I think Kansas City is going to wax the floor with the Eagles. I really do. And I'm sure Devin will come on and tell me I'm wrong. I think it's going to be like somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 27-10 kind of Super Bowl. I really do. I don't think Philly's nearly as good as everybody thinks they are.
I mean, I know that Philly's had a really easy road. I mean, that's probably the easiest road maybe in the history of the playoffs. I mean, they really get the Giants, who clearly weren't ready for that divisional round, and then the 49ers, they had no quarterback. So I admit they had the super easy road, but you can't deny the talent on that roster. They've got talent from top to bottom, offense, defense, especially in the trenches. Their offensive and defensive lines really strong. Chiefs have a good D line too, but I feel like the Eagles pass rush, I know the Chiefs O-line's better, but remember a couple of years ago what happened in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes got bull rushed, and
That was
there wasn't
different.
much he
It's
could
Tom
do.
Brady.
But Brady
Tom
wasn't
Brady.
the one who won that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was saying
Kansas
that was the
Bay's
defense. That's a Tom
Oh yeah,
Brady.
I mean, I'll pick what you want to pick. I'm
Brady?
just telling you what I think is going to happen. I think Philadelphia is highly overrated. It wasn't just the playoffs; it's the whole season. They haven't played anybody all season long. I mean, they beat the hell out of Minnesota, big deal. They lost to Dallas, big deal. I mean, with Gardner Minshew, I mean, I haven't seen anything out of them that makes me think they're that great. Jalen Hurts is playing his first Super Bowl with real pressure coming his way. I mean, Spagnuolo loves the blitz, and we'll see what happens.
Like I said, I haven't
Our
fully
Philadelphia
decided
guy
yet.
is about to tell me I'm wrong. I'm sure.
I haven't fully decided yet. This is the first time I can remember being this torn on a pick.
I've already doubled up on Kansas City. I'm about to triple up on them, I think, because the line's about to go. By the way, if anybody who wants to bet on Philly, wait until later in the week, because that line's going to go down. If you want to bet on Kansas City, do it like today, because you can get plus 105 still. Tomorrow, that's going to be plus 100, and by game day, it's going to be minus 110, minus 110 pick 'em.
Why do you think it hasn't moved already, though? It's been 8 days.
Because the books, they want all this Philadelphia money. I'm telling you, there's a reason why they're getting 78% of the money. The last I saw from Caesars is on Philadelphia. There's a reason why they're not changing the line. They want this money coming in because the big sharps, the sharps who really know what they're doing, are all over Kansas City. And so they want this public money to keep coming in on Philadelphia. Not only that, when the line goes down, I think they're going to get even more Philadelphia money. So we'll see what happens. But there's going to be a couple more big bets in the very near future on Kansas City, I'm telling you. And I would be shocked if this line doesn't go down. It might not get to pick them, but I'd be shocked if it's not at least one within the next few days, and certainly by game time. But I think it's going to be pick them at game time. Or Kansas City, a slight favorite here.
Well, you can tell us what you think. We do have a new poll question up at bet.nola.com.
It's not quite up yet. It'll be up.
Okay. Well, it'll
shortly.
be up after the show. Well, it'll be up shortly after the show. Put it that way. So you got 4 choices. Pretty simple. Eagles by 1 to 6, Chiefs by 1 to 6, Eagles by 7+, Chiefs by 7+. Go to bet.nola.com. We will show the results on Thursday's Bayou Bets show. And to that end, our weekly schedule this week is going to be, we're going to have the fantasy roundup at 4:00 tomorrow. Spencer and I, it's going to be all player prop focused. Lots of different ways you can play it. Also some DFS, really drill down into the individual player aspect of it tomorrow at 4:00. Same channels, Bayou Bets YouTube channel. And then 4:00 Thursday, we'll be back live. And that's going to be our official picks show. We're going to bring the whole crew in. It'll be the 3 of us. It'll also be Zoe Collins-Rath. It'll be Gabe Henderson. We'll get all those picks and, really kind of tell you what we think is going to happen. So I've got to decide by then, and we'll have player prop picks. We'll have side picks, total picks, all of that kind of stuff. So be sure to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Hit the like button for us on each and every show. And if you subscribe, you will get notifications when we go live usually on Mondays and Thursdays with Bayou Bets, Tuesdays with Fantasy Roundups, and a live Datitude on Friday with Jim.
Yeah, we're going to have a really good Datitude this weekend. It's going to be kind of long. So we're going to have not only Jeff Duncan on our last live show of the season with Jeff Duncan. He is going to take a little time away from Datitude as he gets going on his book after the Super Bowl. But we'll have our picks. Uncle Big Nick will be on as usual. And then I'm going to have someone from covers.com on to talk about not necessarily what to bet, although I'm sure he'll throw a few prop bets in there, but how to bet, how to look at betting the Super Bowl, because Zach, Spence, we get into all the different player props that we like and things, but you can overdo it, right? I mean, I'm not one of these guys who likes to bet these like 8-leg parlays for $5. I mean, you're just giving the books money, in my opinion. So it's not just about that, but it's ways to attack and look at and how to bet. And so that's going to be part of the show. So we're probably looking at a close to 2-hour show, but I think it's going to be a really good one, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. 8-leg parlays not necessarily smart, but they sure as hell are fun. And we may have a couple of
Sometimes.
those long shot parlays for you on Thursday as well. So, just to throw a couple dollars at and have some fun. If things really go exactly the way you think they're going to go, you can get paid off. So with that said, I'm excited about this one. Devin Jackson, welcome back to the show. It's Bayou Bets with Devin.
Woohoo!
It's good to see you, my
What
friend.
up, Devin?
What's up, guys? Good to see you all and be back on the show. Feels like old times again.
Heck yeah, it was only like 7 months ago you left us. It somehow feels like longer than that, though. I don't. I think that's just because we miss you so much.
Yeah, time has gone by fast. I've already been with the Inquirer now for what 6 months, 7 months now going on. So time has moved by fast. I still tune in every week, at least one of the shows, whether it's the Monday show or Thursday show. I'll catch a little bit of it, comment on it, interact a little bit. So never too far away.
Well, tell us first of all how things are going for you in Philly and what your operation is like up there.
Yeah, things are going great. It's a little bit of a different one compared to what you guys do. So I'm not actually writing a whole bunch of betting content. So we have a partnership with Action Network, which is under the umbrella of Better Collective. They write all the stories. I'm kind of the buffer in between, them and our sports desk. So whenever we get something in, I'll edit it along with my colleague Jeff Nyberg, and we will edit it and kind of choose a headline or kind of rewrite the headline so it's more Philly centric and kind of appeals to the Philly audience. So we'll get a lot throughout the day. We've had probably like 10 or 12 just Super Bowl bets, between the prop bets and all of that. So that's kind of what I do, during my time during the day. But then I'll write about college sports and follow along with everything going on college sports. Just got back from Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl too. So covering the NFL draft as well. So doing a lot of different things and it's been great.
Here's my question. Have you been asked yet to stand on the 50-yard line like you were asked for the Final Four to sit next to Jim Nantz?
I have not actually.
Oh, okay.
So
well, I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting to see you on the TV.
He's got to put in some time. Okay, he had been in New Orleans for a year by the time that happened, so he's got to put in some time. Look, it's fantastic. We wish you the best. We do miss you, but let's dig into that Super Bowl. And by the way, peas and carrots don't go together as well as Devin Jackson in the Senior Bowl. That you were made for that assignment. That's how all that Ohio University versus Bowling Green picks and Idaho State against Sacramento State, like those things all pay off. You get to go to the Senior Bowl and scout those guys. So first of all, before we get to the Super Bowl, who did you see at the Senior Bowl? What quarterback, if you're the New Orleans Saints, let's say you're going to spend your second or third round pick on a quarterback, which one of those guys, none of those guys I think expected to be first rounders, but who stuck out to you at that position?
Yeah, there's really only two guys, in my opinion, that probably are worth that pick. But if I'm looking at the Saints' perspective, probably Clayton Tune from Houston, I think would kind of fit the bill. Jake Haener from Fresno State was really good, but he's a small quarterback. I know the Saints grew to love Drew Brees, but kind of in theory, I think Clayton Tune is probably the guy that you will want in the building. I think he immediately brings the passing ability, can push the ball down the field, is accurate over the middle of the field too. He put together a really nice week. So those are the two guys that stood out most to me. But in terms of the Saints, if they're looking for a guy that can come in and really take advantage of what they have out, receiver, obviously Chris Olave, what he was able to do as a rookie, I think Clayton Tune is a guy.
All right. Clayton Tune it is then. That's Devin has spoken. Super Bowl 57 Sunday, Eagles and Chiefs. The Eagles are favored. I know a lot of people have been a little surprised by that. I've also heard from people that they should be favored by more. When the line came out last Sunday, were you surprised to see a minus by the Eagles name?
I was not, just because of how dominant they were in their first couple playoff games. And you saw what the Chiefs did, especially against the Bengals. They were able to really gut out the win, but it wasn't easy. And I just think on paper, when you look at the two teams combined, I think the Eagles have the better roster, just from the depth they have on the defensive line. what they have at the offensive line as well. When you take into account the two lines, I think the Eagles have the clear advantage. I know Chris Jones has really emerged for the Chiefs, Frank Clark as well. But when I'm taking into account that the Eagles have 4 to 5 guys that can rush the passer at any point, I think that's kind of the big reason why. And then you think take account to the skill positions, the Eagles have the better wideouts. But obviously, Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes are two of the best at their position, if not the best. And clearly, those guys are the reason that it's only a 1.5 point line. I wouldn't be surprised if it got up a little bit, but I'm not super surprised that the Eagles open as favorites.
And
Jim
speaking of the
Jim
Eagles,
Derry. Go ahead, Spencer.
okay. Speaking of the Eagles, Dev, I know Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, their first time being in the Super Bowl. They've had great regular season run and on some long winning streaks and worked well together. But do you think this moment might be a little big for them? I mean, because with Mahomes and Andy Reid, we know it won't be too big for them.
Yeah, I think the way that the Eagles have built their team, they have built so that even if Jalen Hurts doesn't play particularly well, which he didn't against the 49ers, they're so good everywhere else that it can cover up those deficiencies. So I think after really not having the type of performance he wanted to have against the 49ers, I think Jalen Hurts will come out ready to play. And I think, kind of what they're thinking was in mind that Jalen Hurts still isn't fully healthy from his shoulder. So how much do you risk running him and kind of getting him in that rhythm? You saw in that third quarter that, the Eagles got him going by running the football. So I think, with taking that into account, understanding that, this is the last game of the season, there's nothing to hold back. I think you'll see a better Jalen Hurts. I don't know if he's going to play at the same level of Mahomes, but I think he's going to play much better than he did against the 49ers. But I don't think the moment's too big. I think it just really comes down to, can they play their style of football? Will they be allowed to play their style of football? And if they can, if they dominate the trenches, I think everything will take care of itself.
How
I guess
much
that's the
how concerned are you, Devin, that and again, I know Eagles fans probably aren't concerned, but just as you're not quite a homer just yet. So how concerned are you that the fact that their schedule, they had tons of breaks in the playoffs, obviously playing the right opponent in the Giants and then playing Frisco without a quarterback, and really no question they had the easiest schedule in the NFL. The whole NFC East did, really. So how does that concern you when going into the Super Bowl here?
Yeah, I think just what Patrick Mahomes is able to do outside of structure and just be able to create the impossible. I think it's going to take them a while to adjust to that because they just haven't played that level of player, really
Right.
all season. So I think it's really going to come down to adjustments. And one thing they've been able to do throughout the season, even though they haven't had the greatest schedule, they've been able to adjust, especially defensively. I know the Cowboys game is the one I'm thinking of in particular when they didn't have Hurts, was one they didn't really adjust that well. But really since then, I think they've been able to understand what the opposing offense is doing and how they can kind of minimize that. And I think they're really going to turn up their pass rush a little bit to kind of lean on those 4 guys that they, pay a bit of money to, and especially Hassan Reddick, who, for whatever reason, didn't make All Pro. I think they're going to be
That's crazy.
motivated to showcase that this is not a fluke. It's not just because they're playing second and third string quarterbacks. It's just something that they can play against the starting quarterback or the best quarterback in the NFL. So I think it's going to be all about adjustments and how quickly they can do that and kind of shut that down. I think the pass rushers are going to be have a huge assignment to keep Mahomes in the pocket and force him to get rid of the ball quickly.
Here's some Super Bowl MVP odds as you talk about Mahomes and Hurts. Devin, how are you betting this game if you're betting this game? I mean, obviously, it sounds like you like the Eagles against the spread. Any player props or an MVP vote or anything like that you have in mind? Obviously, the quarterbacks here offer a little bit better value than just betting on the teams. But then there's a chance a Kelsey or an A.J. Brown or even a Hassan Reddick could win MVP.
Yeah, for me, I think I tend to go if I want to do a long shot bet, I would probably go with one of the Eagles running backs because if they're going to win or dominate the game, it's going to be because they're running the football a lot. And I think what they showed against the 49ers was, if they're able to play their style of game, they'll wear down an opponent. So I kind of like the 25 to 1 Miles Sanders bet because I think they're they've made a living on the running game. And I know Jalen Hurts is going to have to play well for them to win. But in the third and fourth quarter, if the Eagles are already controlling the game, they're just going to run the football behind that great offensive line. So if there's a long shot bet to be made, I like the Miles Sanders long shot bet. But otherwise, I'm not sure if I'm taking the Jalen Hurts plus 125. It just feels like there's a chance he might not play well and they can still win the game. That's how good the rest of their other 21 starters are.
For sure.
All
So if
right.
you had to pick a defensive player that you think could really break out, I know Reddick's the favorite among the defensive players, but they've got a lot of other talented players. Who are some that you'd be looking out for on that side of the ball?
Yeah, let's see. I would say maybe Josh Sweat for the Eagles because he plays opposite, of Hassan Reddick, especially on third downs. And they're gonna put a lot of attention on Hassan Reddick. They're probably gonna throw double teams at him. So this is gonna be one on one essentially across the board. So I would say Josh Sweat is another guy to watch that could have a couple sacks, maybe a forced fumble. Um, he had a couple nice games this season where he kind of did that. Had a nice game against the Cowboys earlier in the year and against the Bears as well. So I would pick someone else on a defensive line. Probably not anyone in the secondary. I know Darius Slay is a really good corner, but the Eagles haven't taken the ball away through interceptions at a high rate. So I would expect another pass rusher if I were to take someone defensively to win uh, the game MVP.
Josh Sweat sitting at 150 to 1 at Caesar. So going way down the board there. Um,
Value.
Philly, in so many ways, Devin, they've been the opposite or the inverse, I should say, of New Orleans this year, where they got the trade last year's draft. They traded their first round pick to get AJ Brown. They traded another one to the Saints to get an extra first round pick this year. They then got CJ Gardner Johnson and had a great season and ended up getting the Saints, you know, a higher pick in the first round than they would have had otherwise. And so, in so many ways, what hasn't worked for the Saints has worked for the Eagles. It was your first year there. How surprised were you that the Eagles had the season that they did? I mean, they were in the playoffs last year, but this did come out of nowhere to a certain extent.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought they would at least push for a wild card spot. Just because when you looked at everyone's roster and coming in, the biggest question was Jalen Hurts going to take the next step? And I wasn't sure he was going to. He didn't look great in the preseason either. So there were a lot of questions, even up in Philly, about just how effective is he going to be? How much are they going to lean on him? But really, after those first couple games, I think those conversations started to dissipate. He clearly showed progression as a passer, and just how much their defensive line, got after the quarterback was very surprising. You saw a lot of guys kind of take that next step. Javon Hargrave, Josh Sweat, who I mentioned, Hassan Reddick, who seemed to be kind of an underrated, get as well, over the course of the offseason. So everything kind of really came together for them. And I was surprised, I think, also about just how well their secondary played because they had Darius Slay. They brought in James Bradbury, who, the Giants didn't want to pay. So you had questions about, was it going to replicate with his performance from last year? So I think everything just came together for them. Everyone knew that they were going to run the ball a lot. That's what they did last year. But to see them take the next step in the passing game and bring in AJ Brown was a huge part of that. I think he really elevated Hurts' game.
Yeah, man, that's what Devontae Smith, he did really good as well, opposite AJ Brown. Those two really seem to complement each other, help, not have double teams. But I noticed on the odds chart that Devontae Smith a lot longer than AJ Brown there, 25 to 1 as opposed to 12 to 1. Do you think there could be some value with Devontae as a potential long shot MVP?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility. I'm just thinking, like, in the course of the game, like the way that Devonte Smith plays, I don't think it lends itself to winning MVP just because he's more of a possession receiver, and like he's kind of the Michael Thomas to the Eagles offense, if that makes sense. Like he's not the big play threat that AJ Brown is, but he's going to move the chains. He's going to kind of do the dirty work. So like if he had like numbers like a Cooper Cup did, in the Super Bowl last year, I think it's a possibility, but I think probably I will probably stay away from him just because his style of play just doesn't. I don't see a game where he'd have like 10 or 11 receptions for like 200 yards and a couple touchdowns. I think he's more of probably 7 8 catches, all of them moved to first down. So I think just the style of play kind of lends towards AJ Brown winning that award over him.
What has been the response around town and with you guys, with the paper, as far as how much more interested, how has readership picked up, and just a general sense of, I mean, obviously we know what it's like around here when the Saints do anything and get to the playoffs. What's it been like in Philly?
It's been insane. Because you also have to remember the Phillies made the World Series run
Yeah.
too. So it's really, I would say, helped just the readership in general because people want to see, the home team win a championship. They had the Philadelphia Union of MLS make it to a championship. They both lost on the same name, the Phillies and the Union. And now the Eagles have a chance to win the Super Bowl. But you can tell the energy is up. I mean, really probably since they clinched the number one seed, everyone was kind of anticipating, going to the Super Bowl. And, after they beat the 49ers, it kind of culminated that. And I think it's just an exciting time, for the Philadelphia area, just to be able to have now a third team playing the championship in the last 2 3 months. So I think it's just been kind of great to come in and see everyone kind of rallying around them.
Who,
So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But we have, I want to say, like probably 11 or 12 people on the ground in Phoenix right now. So a lot of planning and a lot of input on just how much we'll cover for the Super Bowl.
who do Philadelphians love more right now? Nick Sirianni or Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
He's probably the number one guy in Philly right now.
Wow. Even more than some of the baseball guys.
Yeah, I just think like Bryce Harper's up there, but like Jalen Hurts was, drafted to the
Because Kyle
Eagles.
Schwarber is kind of a cult hero, I know.
Yeah. Well, when he was drafted, people weren't expecting him to be a starting quarterback in NFL in general. And just how rough his first year starting was to becoming an MVP candidate, I think all of that, the quarterback is always going to be the most important player in a town, and especially if he's playing at an MVP level.
Well, we'll say this before we let you go, because I know Zach's probably got one more question for you. But I think wherever Devin Jackson go, good luck follows. I mean, it's like where you turn to gold, man. You must have like gold plated T-shirt on or something going on there. But I'm so happy for you that you go, and not only do you go there, you get all these championship games after you go. So it's not always like that, Devin. Just know that it's not. Temple's not going to be in the championship game this year, so don't get too excited up over there.
Yeah, the pixie dust hasn't worn off on Temple just yet, but it didn't. I mean, let's be honest, it didn't work too well down here either, I guess. Okay, Devin, before we let you go, two questions for you. One is your official final score prediction for the Super Bowl, and the other one would be, if given the choice right now, you can either have the 76ers prospects for the rest of the season or the Pelicans. Who would you take to go farther in the NBA playoffs?
I'll start with the second question first. I'm taking the Pelicans actually, just because I think they just have such a deep team. I've still been following them, even though I'm up here, but they're just such a deep team. even though they've been in the midst of a 9-game win streak, and now they won 2 in a row. I'm just so impressed with how well their young players have taken that next step. Trey Murphy has looked great. They've brought up Kira Lewis, and he's looked fantastic in limited time. Um, Herb Jones obviously is going to do Herb Jones things, and I just think they're a motivated team that want to prove people wrong. Brandon Ingram's finally getting back healthy. They're going to get Zion probably back in the next couple of weeks. So I think they're just set up to where they're going to. I think they can make it to the second round and push a team, whoever they take to the second round, maybe to 6 or 7 games. I think that's how good they are when they're healthy. I mean, they were the number 1 seed at one point in the season. I know it was early in the season, but the 76ers to me are just too up and down. They're very dependent on Joel Embiid and James Harden, and when they don't play well that night, they're probably going to lose the game. The Pelicans still can find ways to win, even if their best stars aren't playing. For the prediction, I think I'm gonna go 27-24 Eagles. I think it's gonna be a game
Over.
is gonna
That's
get
right.
off to a fast start.
Won't be over by Sunday.
But I think the game is really going to slow down in the third quarter. I think both teams are going to make some nice halftime adjustments. But I think in the end, I think the Eagles pass rush and just how deep they are defensively are going to take over, and they'll find a way to squeak out a win.
All right, Devin Jackson, Philadelphia Inquirer, last year's Big Bucks champion on Bayou Bets. So give it up. Thank you, Devin. Appreciate your help and for hopping on for a few minutes with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys, and best of luck. I'll be tuning in Thursday as well.
Absolutely.
See you, Devin.
All right.
Thanks, Devin.
Much thanks to Devin Jackson. And you can answer that question for us too. Go to bet.NOLA.com. It is up. Jim says it's up. So go right now or go right after the show. You can pick your choice. Eagles by 1-6, Chiefs by 1-6, Eagles by 7+, or Chiefs by 7+. What you think will happen in Sunday's Super Bowl, and we will show the results of this on Thursday along with our picks, guys. A couple other things I do want to get to. We talked about the Pelicans with Devin. To me, this is one of the wins of the year for the Pelicans because they didn't have Zion. They didn't have Brandon Ingram. They didn't have Jonas Valanciunas. And now the Kings didn't have De'Aaron Fox, but they put up 136 points. And this is one of those, the Kings are the 3 seed in the West right now. They're only about 3 games ahead of the Pelicans, but it's one of those teams you feel like, hey, the Pelicans can catch and try to get back into that top 6. So to me, this is one of the wins of the year for them.
That was one of those lines that it stunk to high heaven, and I can't believe I took the bait. There's no way that line should have been 2. It should have been more like 5 or 6. And I'm like, that's too easy. I mean, look at all the players that are out for the Pels and coming off this win, playing a back-to-back. I'm like, this is easy money picking the Kings. Boy, was I wrong. So I usually I'm able to stay away from those fishy lines, but in this one, I took the bait. I swallowed it, and they reeled me in.
The NBA season long, Spencer, but what a difference a week makes for the Pelicans. A week ago, we oh my God, they're never going to get out of this funk and they're going to miss the playoffs. And now it's like optimism is back. Like Ingram played well when they beat the Lakers on Saturday, excuse me. They were able to beat the Kings on Sunday. And now the schedule it's not easy, but I think you got
Easier.
A chance here to go on a little run, maybe 3 out of those 4 going into the All-Star break.
Oh yeah, the Pels will be okay because, like Devin said, they're deep. Even though they've got injuries, they're a deep team. They've got quality pieces all throughout the roster. So I think they'll win at least 3 of those next 4 here coming up. I think they're right in the ship. The Lakers win was huge, obviously, to get off the schneid. And then last night was low key a huge victory because, like I was saying, the Kings a 3 seed right now. They were without their point guard, De'Aaron Fox, but still overall more healthy than the Pelicans. So big one for the Pels there to try to get back up in there because if you don't, in the West, it's a deep conference where if you don't, you're going to fall out and potentially out of the entire playoff. So I think they'll be okay, though. They've got a lot more depth than most of the teams. So, and then when Zion comes back, I think they'll get at least back into the top 6, maybe even the top 4.
Yeah, that'll be the big one. They're trying to get Zion back before the All-Star break and have a chance to really make a run afterwards. So that'll be big. Want to remind everybody of our schedule this week. Tomorrow, Fantasy Roundup, 4 o'clock, with myself and Spencer talking player props, all of that good stuff. Thursday, 4 o'clock live, back here on Bayou Bets, our final Super Bowl picks, from player props to our final score prediction, all of that good stuff. Jim might even tell you what color Gatorade's going to get dumped on Andy Reid at the end of the game. Although, is it weird that they would do that if the Eagles won?
Yeah, it would be very strange if that happened.
That would screw up all the prop bets. But I do want to say, and then Datitude on Friday morning at 9:15 with Jim and Dunk. Now, I will say this, though, as much as the Super Bowl is going to eclipse the sports world this weekend, there are a couple of other things worth keeping an eye on. And one here is the LSU women's team. As I mentioned at the top of the show, it just feels like they're hanging on at this point. Like the pressure of being undefeated is getting to them a little bit. Scraped by Georgia in overtime, scraped by Texas A&M. But, hey, South Carolina's – maybe it was a look-ahead spot to South Carolina. Now they don't have to worry about any other games. They have to bye on Thursday when the rest of the SEC plays, and then they go to Columbia, South Carolina next Sunday. That's a 1 o'clock tip-off, so it'll be over in plenty of time before the Super Bowl. Really a pretty cool deal, I think, that LSU is in that game. Kim Mulkey's second year.
It won't be over in time for the Waste Management Open, though.
Well, that was thank you for that segue, because that's the other thing, is that you can flip channels between that and the Waste Management Open, which is easily the best golf tournament of the year so far. Look at these names. Everybody, I think I heard today, was 22 of the top 25 players in the world, and 2 of the guys missing are Live Tour guys, and the other one is Will Zalatoris, who has a bad back. So, but everybody else is here, and it's going to be pretty good, Jim.
I like those. I haven't dug into it yet, but Scotty Scheffler, 15-1. You don't find him getting that kind of price. It's because John Rahm and Rory are so jacked. Their price is jacked up so high, kind of crazy. So I might be putting some more. Scotty won me at 40-1 last year. This tournament, he could be the repeat winner. Could be a nice.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the other one, and I know he hasn't been in great form, but he always does well at this tournament as well. And you never see him at this price, is Justin Thomas at 21-1. You just never see him over 20-1. And he usually does well in Phoenix. So that's another one I've got my eye on as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, odds can change throughout the week. We'll talk about it Thursday. That thing will have started. Terry's in South Carolina. She'll be watching the Lady Tigers and the Lady Gamecocks. And South Carolina's going to be favored by probably 10 points. It will not be a small spread. LSU will be the underdog. Make no mistake about it. But I think just to get to this point in Kim Mulkey's second year is tremendous.
Yeah, I will say this. I don't think they can afford a giant loss. It worries me that they could lose by 15 or 20 here. And I think that where this team is, it's okay if they lose, but to damage the psyche, and Zach, like you've been talking about, and we've been kind of texting back and forth about it for 2 weeks now. They've been hanging on the fringe. If they get blown out here, which is a possibility, it could really. I think it could really hurt them going forward.
Are you talking about?
I'm not saying they won't show up. I still think even if they show up, I still think they could get. They could get blown out.
They're very good.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. We need to have Zoe on to really break it down, but I feel like it was just from. Actually talked to her about it a little bit, and she seemed to think that LSU could compete here. Probably not enough to win, but if the spread's double digits, I think they'd be in a pretty good position to cover that.
Yeah, I think we'll see. These teams, the SEC is not as good as it usually is this year, and so you're talking, Jim, if they lose a couple, they could easily fall out of that number 1 seed line. Alternatively, there's a very good chance they get a second crack at South Carolina in the SEC tournament, because these are clearly the best 2 teams in the league.
Well, if they lose by 20, I think they fall out of that number 1 seed too.
But if you lose by 20 and then turn around and play them in the SEC tournament and play them close or even beat them, and those are your only losses, you're right back there. So possibly. A couple of chances at it. But as we said, we will be back with you 4 o'clock tomorrow for the Fantasy Roundup, and 4 o'clock on Thursday, Bayou Bets, more on LSU, South Carolina, and of course, most of our time will be spent on the Super Bowl, our final picks, and also our poll results. Go vote for the poll, bet.NOLA.com. Eagles by 1-6 or by 7+. Chiefs by 1-6 or by 7+. I think I know where Jim's going to vote.
Yeah, I already voted.
Were
I don't know
you
if
the first
I
vote?
think I know where I'm going to vote.
Yeah, I just
too.
wanted to
I'll
see
save it
if
for
anybody had
Thursday.
voted. I wanted to see if anybody had voted yet. So the way you do that is that's another good thing about these polls. You click on once you vote, you get to see what the voting total is at that point. So that makes it a little fun too.
We're also making a big push, I should say, to follow our Bet.NOLA Instagram. Putting a lot of good stuff up there and trying to grow that channel as well. So go over there and our Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Here's a good place to end. Terry says it's her birthday today, and her dad passed away Friday night in New Orleans. So, Terry, best of wishes to you and your family, and thanks for being here every week. And same goes to all of our viewers.
Yeah, for sure. We wish Terry the best, and that's always a tough thing. Had a guy, as another somber note, just one of the kids that my step grandson plays ball with, his dad passed away at age 40 just suddenly this weekend. So it's been weird times, and so we anybody who's got any losses right now, it's a tough thing.
Yeah, we're wishing the best for you, and in the meantime, we will be here for you and for your entertainment. See you Thursday on Bayou Bets, our Super Bowl pick show. For Spencer the Guru and for Jim Derry, I'm Zach Ewing. Thanks for watching, everybody.